Now, despite the president's threats of closure of the border traffic, a group of local leaders and officials are trying to increase it, and they called on Congress today to approve the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. That's a trade deal that focuses on the economy. The new agreement would allow for increased cross-border commerce and employment. According to the chamber, trade between San Diego and northern Mexico fostered more than 100,000 jobs. Annual trade between California and Mexico is valued roughly at $73 billion. So here to discuss the possibility of President Trump shutting down the border and the potential impact is political analyst and attorney and our good friend Vikas Bajaj. Great to see you again, Vic.
Likewise, thank you so much.
So what do you think? Is he going to do it? And if so, what could be the ramifications and the consequences?
I think the real challenge would be to find a reason not to believe he will move forward with this promise. He ran on it during the election. He's pushed for it throughout his presidency. And now we have 2020 coming up again, which makes it a foundational piece of his campaign. But let's put politics aside for a second. Let's just talk practically. I've had very intimate discussions with high-ranking local officials and federal officials and law enforcement who have prepared, as we talked about briefly, during the prior closure of the border, during the erection of some of the border walls or barriers that were put up in order to maintain the peace, essentially. Practically speaking, there is a certain mass that cannot be accounted for or catered to. There isn't an infinite button that you can press and say, okay, we now need a holding facility for 100,000 more people this month. It doesn't exist, so there has to be a solution. The solution is changing the law and the loopholes and law enforcement by getting the resources to combat this problem.
Let's talk about logistics and financial impact. Mexico is the third largest trading partner of the United States. Last time there was a border shutdown, San Ysidro shop owners lost more than $5 million a day.
Yes.
This could be catastrophic. Grocery prices are expected to go up. Automakers are expected to be hurt.
Yes.
What?
It's an opportunity cost. I believe this is strategic negotiation. President Trump and the administration, if you look at it from an economic negotiation, they are following the steps that we would expect them to follow. Now, we would have to be naive. We would not have to open our eyes or our ears or talk to our fellow citizens of this community to believe that there will not be an economic effect. Absolutely, there will be, beyond a shadow of a doubt. But that cost to our society, in the administration's eyes, really pales in comparison to the gain that can be had by foregoing those benefits, preferably temporarily. So the opportunity cost, what we are giving up in order to gain a stronger and safer community, in this administration's eyes, works out in balance of closing the border. And I don't think it's an idle threat. We've seen President Trump do that before, sort of as a warning flare, and we may have even called it that on this show before, many months ago. So now we know the effect. We can recite the immediate financial things that will affect every one of us here in this community, but let's look at a grander scale. Let's look at natural resources. If dollar for dollar, Mexico is the third largest trading partner with the United States, as you astutely point out. But let's look at where the money and resources are going. Mexico is by far the largest benefactor in that relationship between the United States and Mexico. The reason for it really comes down to natural resources, natural gas, oil, all of these products that the United States has, Mexico needs to survive. Now, of course, people talk about our lack of avocados or maybe not making a margarita the way we did before, but let's talk about a grand scale to get the governments to move into action. It is not a movement by this administration to have the Mexican citizens or the Californian citizens or United States citizens to act or to do anything different. It is an effort to have the government of Mexico stand up and stop their portion of these caravans coming through their country.
And they've been relatively silent.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if Mexico does do something enough to satisfy Trump and the administration to keep the borders open.
Yes.
Vikas Bajaj, great to see you as always.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Vic.